Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome back to Legendary James Bond. This is our fifth and final video for the course set. We are going over the Casino Royale movies, all the heroes, all the villains. If for some reason you haven't checked them out, go back, check out video 1 where we go over the rules to show what's different between this and other Legendary games, as well as just explaining the rules for people that are maybe new to the series. And then we go over the next 3 videos. We go over the 3 different movies. We have Goldfinger, then we have Man with the Golden Gun, and we have GoldenEye. So this is the only one that doesn't have gold in the title. So yeah, interesting. So this is the Daniel Craig movies. This is the newest actor. At least as of this video, as the time of recording this, because they're potentially going to be a new James Bond in the future. Can't see why they wouldn't continue this, but let's go ahead and hop into this set. So we're going to start with our good old friend Daniel Craig, James Bond, from Casino Royale, which is also very interesting because, I don't know a lot about all the James Bond stuff, but I do know that Casino Royale, I believe, was the first book by Ian Fleming that he wrote. So this is like, I think it's supposed to be like almost like an origin story, but it's not really, because I think James Bond it's a series of tales of this spy, and not necessarily always chronological order, which I always thought was a very interesting thing to do. So I kind of wish they almost, to some extent, they've just done with Marvel movies. Just make Marvel movies. Make a Spider-Man movie, make X-Men, make Iron Man, but quit making them all have to tie into each other chronologically. Just have them be like, this is in a period of time. It would be more fun. But anyhow, let's hop into our first card. It says, I can beat this man. A 4-cost strength card. Gives you 2 recruit. It says 00 status. You may gain a Miss Moneypenny hero or a hero from the Q branch with a cost of 3 or less for free. So what does a 00 status card mean? Cards of this keyword represent Bond's ability to use brute force when necessary. At the end of your turn, before you discard your hand and draw a new one, if you defeated at least one villain and or mastermind that turn, you get each of your card's status effects. This is kind of neat because you play the card and you do all the stuff, and then as long as you defeat someone during that turn, you get all of the effects from the cards. So they pop in afterwards. So that's very helpful as well. It's a neat idea. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. And I also like that there's keywords that have been in every for each movie that are specifically to that movie. So that was, it also makes, playing these games a little bit different, since each game or each movie is going to feel very different, because it's not the same exact keywords popping up over and over. So 5 copies of that one. We have 5 copies of his instant card, which is high stakes. 4 cost gives you 2 attack, 00 status, draw an extra card with your new hand. So these have a little bit higher cost, a little bit less recruit and attack, but that 00 status can definitely give you an extra benefit. 3 copies of our uncommon, Quake the Body Count. 6 cost strength with 3 attack. If you're playing our strength card, you get an additional 3. It's getting a little bit weak starting, but if you play extra strength card, you can definitely boost that up. And that can work very well. Like, you play his first one, right? You get your 2 recruit, and then you drop this one in. Now you get your 6 attack, defeat something, then that 00 status kicks off. So it works very well with each other. And his rare buy back in instinct for 7 costs with 4 recruit. When you draw a new hand, you may discard any number of cards from it and then draw that many cards. That's a neat effect. We've had other ones that let you draw more cards, or purchase a card, get a card from the pile or something like that, the Q branch. This is kind of like, it was, hey, I drew a card and I had, 3 of my 6 cards were starter cards. Discard them. Even if you draw 3 more, that at least it's 3 more out of your deck, right? It can be very beneficial there. Or you could kind of look at your hand and be like, oh, I have 2 recruit cards and I have, 4 attack cards. I'm going to discard my recruit and see if I can get some more attack cards and just do a major attack for the turn. So that's a very neat card. I like that one. All right, up next we have our heroine, our love interest, femme fatale of the movie. We have Vesperling. I'm the money. So range card only costs one. I love the one cost cards. Gives you one recruit. If you played a range before it, you get an additional 2. So very simple, very straightforward. 5 copies of that, of course. 5 copies of the Makes Me Feel Reborn. Covert, 3 costs for 2 recruit. Once this turn, you may put this card on the bottom of your deck. Ah, interesting. Why would you want to put this card on the bottom of your deck? Because then you're going to draw it again quicker. Also interesting, this is once this turn, rather than like at the end of your turn or once or like when you play it, like, oh, because I think they say if when you play it, you put it on there, but then you wouldn't get your recruit effect off of it. It wouldn't trigger stuff. But yeah, that way, if you have maybe if you have a low count deck, you're gonna get it even quicker. But that's a neat idea. We have 3 copies of Treasury Accountant, another range, 6 costs with a 2 recruit and 2 attack. You're playing out of range. You may convert any amount of your recruit to attack or vice versa. Ooh, interesting. So basically, you could, even with just this card by itself, you could have 4 attack or 4 recruit. Yeah, that's neat. That's especially for doing missions. That could be very helpful. And our last one for her, our rare, is going to be Blackmailed. 8 costs with 3 and 3. But it says, play a covert. You get +2 recruit and +2 attack. This turn, you may try to complete a failed mission. If you do, resolve its success effect, if any, put it into your victory pile, and reduce the danger level accordingly. Wow. That's a neat card. This is one where it's like you're mixing with games outside of James Bond. This is going to not be... That part of the effect is going to be completely useless unless you're mixing missions in there as well. But yeah, that's actually a pretty good effect. Like, right, oh crap, we failed a mission. Like, right, you could get this card and potentially get that back and reduce your danger level. But even still, just with 3 and 3, potentially being 5 and 5, that's really cool. It's basically a 10. And then if you combined it with this one, again, you'd have to have, this red, a second red, a blue, and a blue. That'd be your 4 cards. It's not going to happen often, but if this did hit, right, you got all 4 of them to line up. Regardless of what the other 2 do, it would be, 5, 6, 7, and 7. So you have 14 and 14. Or, 7 and 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, you have 7. So you have 14 total. So you could add 14 one direction or the other. That'd be a pretty nasty combo. That's cool. All right. Then we're getting a second special ally. We're just getting M by herself. So we've had a couple of MI6s, but we're getting, and we've had M in the ally decks, but we're getting M by herself. Bond, what the hell are you up to? Of course, this is Dame Judi Dench. 4 cost for 2 attack. Covert, look at the top card of your deck. If it has at least 1 attack, draw it. Otherwise, discard it and you may repeat this effect. It will keep repeating until you find a card with attack. Nice. And you get whatever card. So if it's a starter card, you get that. If it's something else, you get that. But yeah, that's a neat little idea. Cool. You really need that attack. We have 5 copies of Matters Well in Hand for Strength. 3 costs for 2 attack. Play a strength card, you may KO a hero in your hand. If you do, get +1 attack. Good way to get rid of starter cards or earlier level cards, maybe the 1s or 2s that you might not need anymore. Or if you just really need that extra attack for some reason, it might be worth it. Not bad. 3 copies of MI6 Support. So 5 costs for 3 attack. Has a double O status. You may look at the top 3 cards of your deck, discard any, and put the rest back in any order. Stacking your deck. She really seems to be doing a lot of that. That's could be very helpful. And then her ultimate is any thug can kill. 7 cost for 3 recruit. The next time you recruit a hero this turn, you may search the hero deck for a copy of that hero and gain it. Then shuffle the hero deck. Ooh. This would be a little bit more beneficial if it wasn't an ultimate, because you get to use it more often. But that's not a bad effect, because if you can manage to buy a decent card, you get a second copy of it right away. Especially when you have stuff that have the special triggers where you have to already have played a second card. You know, like not the double O status, but like this, you have a strength card. So if you bought this card, you could go find another one. Now you already have 2. You have a better chance of kicking that ability off quicker. Yeah, that's definitely neat. I almost wish, personally, I wish it said the next time you recruit a hero this turn, search the hero deck for a copy of that hero card and give it to another player. I think that would be fun, because then now you have another, be helping out somebody else. But yeah, that'd just be a cool idea. Awesome, that was M. Alright, then we have some allies. So we have 5 copies of Slange. It's an instinct, 2 cost, gives you 1 recruit and 1 attack. If you play an instinct, you get 1 of each other one. Very good. There is one of the other movies, we had a character that lets you gain bonuses anytime you drew a card with one of them, or you could double each one of them. And we got that one card lets you double them in here, or pay 1 for either direction. So some of these double cards are really helpful. We have 5 copies of Carter. He's our tech guy who has 3 for 2 attack. You may put your deck into your discard pile. I don't think I've ever seen that as an effect before. And why would you do this? I bought 3 new cards. I want access to them a lot. Like I bought like one or two cards this turn, 1 or 2 cards my last turn. I really want to get access to them quicker. Do this discard, now in any of your turn you draw it, you're going to have a chance to draw all of them. Just gets you to your deck quicker, basically, because it eliminates your deck. Interesting. We have 3 copies of Renee Mathis. 5 cost, it does 3 attack. And if you play Instinct, choose any number of players to each draw a card. Teamwork cards, I always like them. Those are pretty nice. And then the final ally we have is Felix Leiter, or Leiter. 8 cost for 4 attack. Excuse me. Put each basic starting hero in your deck into your discard pile, then shuffle your deck. Ooh. That is neat. Because then if you have anything that lets you draw, you're going to be drawing any non-basic starters. Now, imagine combining that with him. You put your deck into your discard pile, right? So all your cards in your discard pile. And then your next turn, like right, if you get to draw him, you draw your hand, and then I'll put each basic starter here in your deck into your discard pile. So that way your deck is already full except for the cards you've just drawn. Or even play him and then play this other guy, then play a card to let you draw 1 card. Because then it lets you shuffle your deck back up, right? And then you only taking 1 card out, and then if you play him, now you have all them starters, so every card you drop, that's going to be a good card. That's a really neat combo. I like that. Again, it might take a little setup to get it to actually work the best available way, because like it's just set you up for your next turn unless you play this. And they have a bunch of drawing cards even still. It'll help out. But yeah, that's really cool. Alright, our last hero group are equipment. So we have 5 copies of the Defibrillator. 2 cost for 2 recruit. If you play a tech card, you may KO up to a total of 2 wounds in friendly players' hands or discard piles. Nice. Healing some extra allies, not a bad card to have. I wonder if we're going to get some wounds from these villains in this set. 5 copies of the Ambassador's Gun. 4 cost with 2 attack, double status. You may KO a hero you played this turn. Interesting. Get rid of some of your cards. Cool. Then we have 3 copies of the High Hand. 5 cost for 3 recruit, double status. You may put a card from your discard pile on top of your deck. A lot of deck stacking in this set. Like, right, getting to manipulate your deck. Very interesting. And then the last one is Short Range Bug. 7 cost for 4 attack. If you play a blue card, you may attach this to a mission or a villain on assignment. When it's defeated by any player, you draw 3 cards and regain this card. If it's carried away, KO it. Oh, that is an interesting ability as well. A little bit of setup because you have to play a blue card. But you easily, like, play a blue card, attach this thing, defeat a guy that has 4, defeated henchmen, or maybe a very weaker character that might still be around. Then gain 3 cards and be able to do something else with it. That's neat. Plus, it's when any player defeats it. So, yeah, that is a cool card. It doesn't attach it to the mastermind, though, just a villain. Cool. I like that. That's neat. All right, that is our main 5 heroes. I'm going to switch out our starter cards. We have our 8 copies of Daniel Craig James Bond. There's 1 recruit. We have our 4 copies of the 00 Agent basic starter with 1 attack. We have our 3 copies of Miss Moneypenny, which goes in the big deck for that. This is, of course, if I give you notice, this is Naomi Harris. So we get her. And then we're going to have our special starters for Daniel Craig's version. Standard field issue. 1 attack, draw a card. The next time you trigger a class special ability this turn, you get +2 attack. Neat. So there's not a ton of them, but that's definitely helpful. The Winner's Spoils. Pay 1, draw a card. Or not pay 1. 1 attack, draw a card. The next time you trigger a class special ability this turn, get its effect in additional time. Ooh, that is powerful. So just as an example, let's grab a card here. So, yeah, like we could get, for example, if you trigger this card, next time this turn may convert any amount into that. So I don't know if that's going to be as helpful. But like something like this, like very early on, you trigger this, you get 2 recruit, you gain an extra 2 recruit, right? Or if you trigger this one, you get 3 attack, you get an additional 3 attack, right? So like this, I like these starter cards are kind of neat with little abilities like that because they don't have a lot of attack or recruit. Sometimes they don't even have any. But drawing a card is always beneficial because it's essentially just replacing it. So it's like, oh, I got a 1, but I get 1 extra card to replace it. So it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, some of these abilities can be very good even late in the game. Shaken Not Stirred. 1 recruit, draw a card. The next time you trigger a special class, which is special ability this turn, draw a card. Just that all of his are focusing on that. MI6. 1 recruit, draw a card. Next time you trigger a class special ability, you gain +2 recruit. And then the last one is Bond. James Bond. Draw a card. The next time you trigger a class special ability this turn, you may search your deck for a discard pile for a James Bond hero and put it into your hand. Neat. So yeah, I did say in the last video for GoldenEye, and I'm kind of saying it again in here, is I do like the idea of these cards. Is you could be like, we're playing Casino Royale. You have 5 of these cards. You could have up to 5 players. You could give each player 1 of these cards. They're then themes kind of with the deck of the characters. Or you could have, I'm playing Daniel Craig. I get 1 of Daniel Craig's cards. You're playing Sean Connery. You get 1 of Sean Connery's. But yeah, if you're playing Casino Royale, the Sean Connery one might not work as well with the other cards. It's still going to work. It just might not synergize as well. But then when you start mixing and matching all the stuff, like you played through all 4 movies, and you want to mix and match different villains and henchmen and different heroes from each set, some of these could be really interesting. Yeah, so that's kind of, and since you're always supposed to include a James Bond, this James Bond card is always going to be available. Now, again, you start mixing and matching, you could opt to not add any James Bond to see how difficult that makes the game. Be kind of interesting, but I probably wouldn't add this card into there. Cool. All right, let's look at some villains. We have Le Chiffre, I probably mispronounced that, who always leads the Casino Royale villain group. Master Strike, make a poker hand. I'm just going to call him Le Chiffre. Hope I'm saying that anywhere near correct. Takes the top 2 cards of the hero deck and uses them to make his poker hand. If his hand beats or ties yours, play the top 2 cards of the villain deck. Either way, put his 2 cards into the bottom of the hero deck. When the villain escapes, increase the danger level by 1. Yeah, I don't want villains to escape in here. So he has a cost of 8. So what is a poker hand? Takes the top 2 cards of the hero deck and using them to make his poker hand. So this is a very intricate special ability. It says some effects require someone to try and make a poker hand. Here's how it works. Choose up to 2 total cards with 1 or more cost of 1 or more in your hand and or play area. Then use those cards plus the cards in the Q branch. Choose up to a total of 5 cards and make one of the following poker hands in order of weakest to strongest. Pair is 2 cards of the same cost. 2 pair, 2 cards of the same cost, and another 2 at the same cost. 4, 4, and 3, 3. 3 of a kind, 3 cards of the same cost. A straight, 5 cards is a successive cost. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A flush, 5 cards of the same class, so all covert. Oh, that's going to be very rare to do. Full house, 3 cards at the same cost, and another 2 cards at the same cost. So a 4, 4, 4 and a 3, 3. 5 cards at the same cost do not count. 4 of a kind, 4 at the same cost. Straight flush, 5 cards of the same class and successive costs. So that means it has to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for example, but all the same color. I don't know how you can even do that in here. Some villains require you to make a specific hand, like a flush, in order to fight them. In that case, just make sure you have that in your hand. You have that hand when you fight them. If 2 poker hands are the same strength, such as 2 straights, they are considered ties. That is crazy. It's a neat mechanic for the game. It's crazy that it's on the Mastermind. Usually that something ends up being like on a Steam. Like it breaks the rules or changes how the game works. So basically it's gonna be is I'm gonna look at the 5 cards in the Q branch, and I'm gonna have 2 cards in my hand and try and make, so that gives me a total of 7 cards to try and make my hand out of. And then the other player draws 2 cards and he does the same thing essentially. That's crazy. Interesting. Alright, he has some tactics. We have the Cypher. Fight. Each other player discards a random card from their hand. Draw 1 fewer card at the end of your turn. Interesting. So other players start with less cards, and so do you. Welcome, Mr. Beach. Or is that Bond? Fight. Each player who doesn't have a James Bond hero in their hand or in play gains 3 wounds. Oh, they are handing out wounds in this set. Give me the password. Fight the Mastermind cannot be fought until the password is complete. When anyone plays a card with a cost of 1 or more, set it aside and it loses its game text. Once 6 cards are set aside this way, discard them and the password is complete. Okay, that's how you do it. When anyone plays a card with a cost of 1 more, set it aside and it loses its game text. It still grants its things, but once 6 cards have been set aside this way, discard them and the password is complete. So I wonder if you have to do it in 1 turn. like one player has to play 6 cards in one turn, or yeah, there's no like specific card breakdowns in here. Or if like you can do it overall, like set it aside and then show if like you can do this over multiple turns or not. Interesting. That's something I have to probably look up on like Board Game Geek, see what other people thought. You must have thought I was bluffing. But each player makes a poker hand. The mastermind takes the top 2 cards of the hero deck, using them to make his poker hand. For each player's hand that beats or ties play the top 2 cards of the villain deck. Then put his 2 cards at the bottom of the hero deck. So it's not so bad. You just gotta fight him. Another poker effect. But again, you have to have 8 attack and then do this. So, interesting. Alright, let's see what we have for villains. We have the Casino Royale villains. We have Deck A, we have Malaka. This villain can't be fought the turn he enters on assignment or on a turn when he moves. Ooh. Not hard to beat, but that could be tricky. Other Deck A card is Cardos. Ambush. The active player gains a wound, and if you fight him, the same effect. Just handing out wounds. In Deck B, we're going to get Infake. Or Infante, maybe? You must make a full house to fight this villain. Again, that is going to be really hard. So 3 cards with the same cost and 2 with another. Just because, yeah, you can't, I mean, you can kind of see what you have in your hand, but, like, the board might not be it, but that might be the thing of, like, maybe you have to, like, purchase some cards, like, okay, I have 2 4s in my hand, and there's a 4 on the board, got it, but I have a 1 and a 3 and a 5 in my hand. On the board, and there's not any of those, right? So you might have to buy one of those cards, to try and buy something else to see if you can flip it over. So that's kind of it's an interesting idea. Crazy. We have Fukatu, who has you have to make a flush, which is of course by a card of the same class. That's even trickier too, right? Oh boy. And then we have Wallenstein, must make a straight. Anything from consecutive cards. So that can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Anything other than that is going to be very hard, because like 6s come up a little bit more often, but 7s, 8s, and 9s are the rare cards, or ultimates, so it's going to be a little bit harder. And then the problem is all of a sudden you have 2 ultimates in there. Ugh. Interesting though. Alright, in Deck C, we have Vesper's Kidnappers. We have High Speed Chase. This works just like regular Chase, which means when it comes into play, it's going to move 1 space. Or Chase means when it comes into play, it moves a space, and it pushes everything. And then during its turn, before you play anything else, after the villain's play, but before you play anything else, it also moves an additional space. High Speed Chase instead means you move it 2 spaces. After it's done playing it from the villain deck. It's just going to come into play and automatically push twice, which is very bad. Also in Deck C, we have Mr. White. Fight. You may fight the Mastermind for free this turn, but he costs 12. Holy crap. That's a lot. But the fact is, otherwise, that's just his Master Strike. Alright, yeah, that's nuts. And then the last one for Deck C is we have Gelter. Ambush. The active player puts 1 random hero with a cost of 1 or more from their hand under Gelter. That player regains that hero. So basically kidnap someone and they defeat them, you get them back. We've seen that plenty of times in Marvel. It's kind of fun to have that back in here. Surprised it hasn't appeared more often, where they kidnap somebody. Cool. Let's take a look at our missions. Alright, some missions. So our mission group is called the Casino Royale Tournament. So gain 00 status. 2 to attack it. This is for deck A, of course. You can't complete this mission unless there are at least 2 villains in your victory pile. Ooh. That's interesting. Just kind of forcing that the double O status keyword ability too, where you want to defeat villains to be able to use that. So this is also good. Otherwise, it's really easy to beat. Also in deck A, we have the Trace Cell Phone. Has 6 recruit. This has -1 recruit for each space between it and the villain deck. For example, if it's in the middle space, it has -2. Interesting. So we had a card like this in another set that got more powerful the farther away it got from the villain deck. This one gets easier to beat the farther away it gets. So it starts off really hard, and then as it gets farther away, you have a better chance of getting it. Alright, in deck B, we have Protect the Skyfleet Prototype, which has Chase. And then after this pushes another card with its Chase ability, if that card is still on assignment, it switches places with this card. Ew, interesting. So it pushes something and then it goes in front of it. So it's always going to keep constantly moving quicker and quicker towards the end. Makes sense. There's a big giant truck just going to run over stuff. Survive the poison. Ambush. Each player gets a poison extra card. So we have 5 of those. Success. Tail all poison extra cards everywhere. Shuffle each player's deck if necessary. So we get 5 copies of those, and they are going to be, when you would draw this card, discard it and gain a wound. Interesting. So it's like a worse wound because there's no way to generally just get rid of it, like by getting rid of wounds. It's going to give you an extra wound, so it's duplicating itself. Basically the poisoning worsening. And then, yeah, it also just clogs up your hand for the turn. Yeah, that's interesting. That's kind of a neat little mechanic. I like that. Also in deck B, we have the Chiffre at Poker. When you try to complete this mission, shuffle the 2 branch into the hero's deck, then refill it. If you can now make a straight flush or full house, complete the mission. Otherwise, it stays where it is. Wow, because you can't even like look at it and be like, yeah, I have enough to beat this. You have to like randomly see what happens. So this could be very risky. Interesting. That's cool. In deck C, we have Don't Yield to Torture. Cost 10 to beat. Oh boy. What it says, when you attempt to complete this mission, you gain up to 10 wounds. Up to 10 wounds. This gets -+1 for each wound you have gained this way. So crazy. So you could just be like, I'm gonna gain 10 wounds, right? And then beat this for free, right? If you really want to. Will there ever be a reason to do that? Like, maybe end of the game, this is in deck C, like if this pops up right before the inevitable mission, maybe just someone just sacrifices it just to get rid of it, and you still have your cards for the turn. They'll go to your discard pile anyhow, so if you still have a full deck of cards, you might be like, I can risk, draw 6 cards each time, I have 13 cards in my deck. You're like, right, I can go 2 more rounds before all the wounds are going to start to potentially hit me. Right, but then you can, that could be very interesting. Also, I feel like I'm just in my brain is like, what a card with this for someone like mixing it with Marvel. You're playing like the Hulk, who has stuff like if you can discard wounds, do this stuff, or he has lots of like all the different versions of Hulk generally have something to do with wounds. This card you can forcibly give yourself any number of wounds. That's crazy. All right, then we also have Discover Vesper's Betrayal. So this costs 11. You may KO a Gamesbond hero and a Vesper-winged hero in your hand to complete this mission instead of paying its cost. Be a different way to get rid of it. Again, just to kind of look at that, so it's like, if we go back to their cards, just really quick here. So she has an 8, a 6, a 3, and a 1. A 3 and a 1 would not be bad at all. But Bond has a 7, a 6, a 4, and a 4. So, like, right, getting rid of one of his cards is going to hit a little bit harder than getting rid of one of her cards. But again, it's something doable. Alright, then we have the last in Deck C. We have Locate Mr. White. Success, you may fight a villain for free this turn. Might help you finish off some last one of the guys in the game. And the Inevitable. Escape the sinking building. Cost 5, recruit to defeat. If your hero deck runs out, evil wins. If the hero deck runs out. Success, instead of defeating this, move it to the rightmost space, 1 space. Kill the bottom 5 cards of the hero deck, evil wins. Ooh. I love how all of these Inevitable cards are so different. We've had like 3 of them that when you defeat them, they move back, but then they do something. 1 gains you a wound, 1 gets harder. This one starts eliminating cards off your deck, so that way you get towards the end of the game, you almost can't buy anything else because you can't afford to shrink the deck any quicker. You can easily count that up and be like, guys, there's just popped up, there's 15 cards in the deck. So basically you have to try and defeat this to keep it from going. But every time you do, you're going to lose that. So basically, guys, we can only defeat this 3 times. So it gives us, it can move 5 times before it escapes. Plus, we can move it back. If you have 15 cards, you can only actually technically move it back twice. Because you couldn't do the 3rd time, otherwise the deck would be empty. So you guys, we only got 7 turns to win the game. It's kind of neat. You can kind of calculate how much time you have left. That's fun. I like that. Alright, then we have our henchmen. So we have a 2-cost henchman for deck A, 3 copies. We have 4 copies of henchmen for deck B, which costs 3. And then we have 4 for deck C, or 3 for deck C, which costs 4. These are the Embassy Guards. Fight, you may put a hero in the Q branch beneath the space. You may put a hero in the Q branch beneath the space on the bottom of the hero deck. Interesting. So it recycles the Q branch for you. That's kind of a neat little mechanic for them. That's cool. Alright, then the last 2 cards we have are our schemes, which again, like always, fit into this set a little bit more, but can be used in any sets. We have Win the Casino Royale. I always use the Casino Royale tournament mission group. 5 scheme twists. Twist, each player discards from their hand. Each card is a copy of a card in the Q branch. Then puts a card in the Q branch on the bottom of the hero deck. Alright, so that's not terrible, right? I thought this was kind of something to do with the poker aspect, having to do something with that. Like every time it came up, you had to try and beat them, otherwise something bad happened. That's not so bad. Again, depending on what matches, you could lose 0 cards, you could lose 4 cards. It really depends on, you know, what's all on there. And then you also lose those cards to buy, too. But at least everything just goes to the bottom of the deck or gets discarded. It's not like anything gets KO'd and actually lost. Like, that would have been worse if it said every time it hit, you have to KO a card that matches, and then that card goes to the bottom. So now not only you can't buy it right away to replace it, that would have been a little bit worse. Awesome. Alright, then we have Selling Secrets, 5 scheme twists. Special rule, cards played from the villain deck are played face down into the rightmost space on assignment. Pushing the other cards normally. Play the final card of the villain deck face up as normal, the Inevitable. It costs 2 attack to turn this card face up. If it's a Master Strike, Scheme Twist, or Gadget, resolve it normally. Otherwise, leave it in its space and resolve its ambush effect if it has one. If a face down card would be Escape, first turn it face up and resolve it. Twist, turn each face up card on assignment face down. If there are no face up cards, play the top card of the villain deck. Oh, that is fun. This also makes it very legendary encounters, because that's how the legendary encounters games work. Is both not Firefly. I think Firefly might do it. Predator and Alien did it. But yeah, cards that came up on the top face down and they moved across a board. which had spaces, which was kind of like the on assignment, but they're all face down, and then they had various increments you had to pay to reveal them, which I think it got more expensive as it got towards the end. I think it was like 2 and then 3 at the end, and maybe the last one might have even been 4. But yeah, you had to like pay to reveal them. And then, yeah, you might end up revealing an alien or predator to fight. You might end up revealing an ally card that's going to help you out. So it's kind of like a gamble sometimes if you want to reveal them. But that was the only way to defeat them before they moved off that board. So once they did, then they started attacking you. This is a very similar idea. That's kind of neat. It works for more of an aggressive deck. And I also, again, I look at some of these cards and these schemes and some of the groups, the missions and stuff, is these are things that might be kind of neat to mix in with maybe like one of the Marvel sets. Again, the only thing that's odd because these are all photographic versus that, but they have been making a bunch of legendary Marvel sets that are the cinematic universe, the MCU stuff. So you could mix these in there and keep having the same artwork, or you just don't care, mix all this stuff together because these schemes especially are kind of fun because they give you new ways to play. The other side is I can imagine trying to play James Bond with the one X-Men Steam twist where you basically play a baseball game. And that would have been pretty crazy too. Yeah, so that's really fun. We have a bunch of stuff. We had basically the 4 different main keywords for the heroes. Liaison, loyalty to the mission, 00 stats, and poker hands, which were in each different set. Some of the other words weren't used as much, but yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see what the other expansions have with the new Bond, new actors, because we still have Greg Dalton and Timothy Lazenby, if I'm correct, or George Lazenby and Timothy Dalton. There we go. I mixed their names up. So we have the next set, the double pack expansion does have those 2 in it. So we're gonna get two brand new Bonds, and then the 2 expansions after that go back to some of the other characters. But it'd be interesting to see the extra new stuff we get added in there, the new mechanics and stuff like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking them out. I really like this as an idea of like, it's still legendary. We can mix and match everything however you want, but it does have that difficulty thing. You can see, I think even like movie-wise, I think like it progresses in harder difficulty. But that's what we have for Legendary James Bond. Hope you guys enjoyed these videos. Have questions, have comments, hit me up. I'll try and answer. Anything you'd like to see or recheck me to show things, like maybe like if you'd like to see me compare just all the James Bond cards together to see how each 5 or 4 of them compare, or their specialty cards, I can do that. So let me know if it's something you'd like to see. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.